Hello my dear Sinnoh residents, and welcome back to our ever-growing region as we continue building out the vibrant city of Jubilife. It's becoming more lively with each passing day, and today's episode is packed with exciting updates. This episode is going to be quite long since the past couple of weeks brought a lot of new assets to the game. And honestly, I couldn't resist trying them all out. Most notably, I finally got to experiment with Japanese themed assets, which I was super excited about. By the end of this episode, you'll see Japanese-inspired borough complete with a training school, adding a unique cultural touch to Jubilife. A few days ago, I asked if you wanted to see all newly built areas in one go, and the majority voted yes, so here we are. I'll be showcasing everything I've added to Jubilife so far, and trust me, it's a lot. So let's dive in. So in today's episode we are going to expand the city eastwards and play a bit with UK themed assets and expand the highway infrastructure and make a nice looking tunnel entrance. Then I will do a couple of off-top builds and build out a big gas station with diner and parking for trucks, and also a large version of Mart. Then we'll get to develop downtown with placing high-rises, stunning modern plaza and modern looking buildings, and also sketch how the future arena might look like. Then we'll work on Jubilife's TV, converting it to fully functional media production powerhouse of Sinnoh, and lastly we'll get to place long-awaited Japanese assets in the southeastern corner of Jubilife along with trainer school from the original games. And yeah guys, I hope you will enjoy this one. It's quite a lengthy episode, but given Jubilife's scale and complexity, I think it's quite justified. If you've been enjoying how Sinnoh is coming to life, don't forget to show your support by liking, commenting or subscribing, and if you feel like treating me a beer after all this work, you can do so at Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. And to kick things off, we are naming two districts of Jubilife City which were left from the past times, and I've come up with two names both in Japanese, and I think they not only sound great but also add a nice cultural touch to the city. The southeastern corner of Jubilife will be named Kotobuki, which translates to felicitation, and this name is actually the Japanese name for Jubilife City in the Japanese version of the Pokemon games. So I thought that would be a cool nod to include it here. And the northern part of Jubilife will be called Jubilife Kita, with Kita meaning north in Japanese, inspired by Sapporo's northern district as well. And I hope you guys like these names as much as I do. Let me now walk you through what we're building at the moment. We are in this uphill part of Jubilife, Kotobuki, which I've developed as an eastern expansion of the city. This area connects to the rest of the island via Route 203, leading toward Oreburg City, and I've added interchange with quite extensive highway infrastructure that crosses the mountain range, mimicking how the Pokemon games use underground passages or caves to navigate the island. In the games, heading east of Jubilife takes you through Oreburg Gate, which is a cave, and it leads directly to Oreburg City. And my plan for Oreburg is to make it an industrial powerhouse, complete with a detailed gym and ore mines that will boost the region's economy. In fact, it is going to be the next city that I will develop after Jubilife, respecting the storyline, and then we'll develop Floaroma Town with flower fields and some nice rural type landscapes. For this part of Kotobuki, I wanted it to serve as an important connection point, featuring well-detailed tunnels and intersections. And this little district is designed as a low-income outskirts area with a mix of small offices and commercial spaces. And it is kind of area where tough kids are raised, but because it is still part of the capital, they enjoy decent quality of life. And I was really excited to see how this part of the city, shaped up the identity of this district and of the city as well. And it ended up looking as a very nice district. And here you can see I was experimenting with the design of this tunnel entrance, and since this area is on the cliff, it gave me an opportunity to make it more visually interesting And after a couple of iterations, I settled on a final design inspired by, how I've seen the tunnels in my life in the hilly regions. And this often feature something like structured terrain shaped like steps, and which help to protect the tunnel from the landslides and other natural threats. And while I'm definitely not an expert in tunnel engineering, and I've just, used imagination here, I wanted to create something unique using the tools available in the game. And to achieve this look, I used small walking alleys to carve out levels and then detailed the area with greenery and rocks. And this layering technique gives the tunnel entrance a functional yet natural appearance, and I'm quite happy how it turned out. And definitely let me know, guys, what do you think about this design? If you have any ideas of how tunnels could be shaped in other parts of the city or across the island, feel free to share them in the comments. I'm planning to include quite a few tunnels throughout the region, and small details like this can really make a big difference when it comes to landscaping in the game. And your input will be always valued and might inspire some cool new designs. Once the initial infrastructure was in place, I moved on to building this hillside district, which I think is always a fantastic addition to any city. I love working with varied elevation because it creates these beautiful viewpoints and adds a dynamic and lively feel to overall cityscape. And for this build in particular, I used a variety of assets from UK Pack, which has fit really well. And here you can see the road leading to where I plan to place the Jubilife TV station, inspired by the one you visit in the games. We'll detail it a little bit later in the video. I decided to position it uphill instead of the city center, because typically TV towers are located on higher ground to maximize signal coverage. I also wanted it to be a special standalone area featuring a signature building along with a production zone, which I'll build a little bit later. And in my vision, Jubilife TV functions as a media corporation that produces various series and films about Pokemon, so it makes sense for them to have more than just a single building. For now, we are focusing on covering this uphill district with residential buildings, and by the end of this video I've added a lot of Japanese style buildings to another part of Kotobuki, which is more downhill, and I might return here to incorporate some of this style later as well. And overall, I've really enjoyed the variety of assets that have been added to the game recently. Once you start mixing them up and experimenting, you truly appreciate the incredible work done by the asset creators who made this possible. And I think we are all deeply grateful to these creators, and I'd like personally thank them for enhancing the City Skylines experience with such diversity and creativity. And big thanks as well to the City Skylines 2 team for organizing this effort and compensating these creators so we can access this amazing content for free. And I'm excited to see what's coming next with the upcoming packs featuring Chinese, Eastern European and American themes. It would also be fantastic to see other styles like Dutch, Nordic, Portuguese or even Brazilian modernism. While those might be just, dreams for now, we already have so much to work with, which is truly inspiring. In this segment, I have let my imagination guide the design of this district, and it ended up with a distinctly Central European feel, for me at least, reminiscent to the region where I'm based. And the area features smaller houses alongside tall utilitarian block housing, which often accommodates lower income families. And interestingly, during my exploration of Sapporo, I noticed sometimes similar patterns there. It seems that during socialist times, a dominant entity, be it the government or large corporations, would house workers in these block apartments on the city outskirts in former communist countries. But this trend wasn't limited to socialist states, and highly capitalist nations like Japan and South Korea, for instance, experienced it too. And in these countries, the powerful corporations have built entire districts for their employees. While I'm not aiming for a purely high-rise district over here, if you look at the cities like Seoul from above, you'll see what I mean. The urban landscape doesn't differ much from the Eastern or Central European vibes I sometimes encounter. While this district isn't exactly tailored for higher earners, I still wanted to ensure that it offers some nice amenities for its residents, and here it features a Pokemon battlefield as usual, a basketball court, a primary school, and excellent connectivity to downtown via tram line that terminates over here, and additionally there is a bus line running through Kotobuki district to this uphill district and connecting this area to the Jubilife's TV station. For local residents, the district will include its own Pokemart and Pokemon Center, as well as small commercial areas to serve the residents' needs for groceries. And I'm really pleased with how this space turned out. It feels like a vibrant communal spot. Sure, some residents might have windows facing the highway, but I imagine the reduced rent would make it worth it for them. Although this district might be an exception in how I'll build throughout the rest of Jubilife due to the release of Japanese pack, I think I'll still incorporate this British style apartment blocks in other parts of the city because they house a good number of people and I think they fit in some themes which helps make city feel more lively. Plus, residents here will, always enjoy some stunning views of the rest of the city and mountain coronet and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't think living in such area would be at all bad. And now I'm taking a small detour from the main build because I couldn't resist the urge to try something different and build this highway petrol station. For now it is just on one side of the road, but I might add another on the opposite side later. And yet it's not a massive station, but it is showcasing how much the game has progressed, allowing us to create detailed, realistic petrol stations that actually get used by people. I also added a diner and parking spaces for both tourist buses and big trucks and cars, and the design here follows, I think, more European style, so it might differ from what you would typically see in Japan. But honestly, I don't base my builds entirely on Japan because Pokemon games and anime often draw inspiration from Europe and US as well. So adding these slightly different elements brings, I think, a nice variety to the overall build. Detailing this gas station isn't too difficult, it's more about creating functional and inviting spaces. I focused on areas where cars can park, adding amenities like sitting spots for people to enjoy their snacks, a touch of greenery, some large garbage bins, and a variety of surfaces to tie it all together. With the road marking tools available now, the possibilities are endless, and I plan to include these types of stations throughout the island as the highway network will expand. They not only add realism but also create little points of interest across the map. And in this section, I'm adding a little agricultural environment that will gradually transition into low-rise housing and eventually medium-density housing. This creates a nice city outskirts vibe, even though the distance is a bit closer to the downtown core than you might typically expect. However, to maintain the placement of cities and towns as they are on the original map, I have to work within a relatively congested environment. To balance this, you'll see me carving out more urban space in the eastern and western parts of Jubilife. For now, the southern and northern areas will feature a mix of rural elements and plenty of low-density residential housing in future builds to create that layered transition from city to countryside. And now here I'm finishing off this district with some final detailing. I didn't go overboard with replacing every single fence as I've done in earlier builds. In fact, I think I'll scale back on that for most of Jubilife, as it is incredibly time consuming and I need the city to grow at a steady pace. Ideally, I want to complete Jubilife within the next 1 to 2 months, so I can focus on progressing further across the region. There are about 17 cities and towns in Sinnoh, not to mention the vast wilderness areas like Mountain Coronet, which will also require special attention. And Jubilife is definitely a standout location, but spending too much time on hyper detailing here might affect the overall timeline. And I would love to finish this project within a year, to move on to other exciting builds, whether it's Pokemon related or something else. So let's see if I can manage it. And if you notice me skipping a few details here and there, it's because I have an urge to progress with other cities and projects. That said, don't worry, I'll still maintain my signature style and pay close attention to details that matter most. But in other cases, I'll leave the areas and housing as the game suggests and will not do it too much with detailing. And in this area, I wanted to attach some commercial functionality to the highway. Typically, residential areas aren't located right next to highways, though there are exceptions, especially in Japan, where housing can sometimes be seen almost touching the roads due to the efficient use of space. However, here I decided to build a larger Pokemart to serve the Kotobuki district. And this version is more like a supermarket or hypermarket, designed with a bit more detailing than the game would offer with their asset sizes. And the approach was quite straightforward. I just combined several larger commercial assets into one cohesive structure, created a well laid out parking lot, and detailed the loading area in the back with dummy trucks, box assets, and guiding road markings for delivery vehicles. The end result adds both functionality and a bit of realism, and it blends seamlessly with this part of the district. And here I'm carving out a section of nature to make room for larger urban development in Jubilife's core. This expansion is essential to increase the city size and provide space for some special builds planned for this area. To achieve this, I terraformed the terrain and laid out a new version of train infrastructure, although it looks a bit similar to the previous one. And it was an exciting process as it also allowed me to rework the road network and how it is going to be structured here. Previously, to travel from downtown Jubilife to Jubilife City, which lies on the west, you would have to take a road around the hill. Now I've added a tunnel cutting straight through the hill, connecting directly to the big bridge that crosses the bay. And I think this significantly improves connectivity between Jubilife City and Jubilife's downtown area. Expanding this space not only enhances accessibility, but also creates room for more urban development. And one of the key additions in this newly carved out section will be the arena, which you'll see me place a bit later in this video. And just to note here, this entire tunnel entrance and its surrounding infrastructure will likely be adjusted in the future episodes. As city develops further, I plan to revisit this area to refine the design and add more detailed touches. It is definitely space that will evolve as we progress with Jubilife's build. And now I'm sketching out how this part of the city will take shape, placing a few tall buildings to define the skyline. And this district will also feature a strong connectivity, including the grass tram line, which will serve this section of downtown while linking Hisui district and Jubilife Kita district, and basically this train station, which will be quite a significant transportation hub. And now I'm building the initial test version of the arena, and this is the design I wanted to experiment with. And I think it fits quite nicely here, especially with the train tracks curving around its edge, giving it an integrated urban feel. And for now it will stay in this raw, undeveloped version, and I'll return to detail it later when I focus on this part of the city. And I wanted to place it early to establish the city's identity as a bustling urban hub with its iconic arena. Let me know in the comments if you like this circular design for the arena, and of course if you have any suggestions or ideas for improving it, I would love to hear them. And here I'm diving into shaping the city skyline by placing buildings that will define Jubilife's urban character. I've been testing out a few new assets from the modern buildings pack, and I included this standout town hall, which I think looks absolutely stunning. My primary focus in the downtown area is to create a vibrant business and financial hub with a few signature buildings that stand out and truly define the city identity. You'll see me experimenting with different assets, tweaking the placements, and playing around until I achieve that polished and cohesive view I envisioned for this iconic part of Jubilife. And of course I'll be also featuring these ultra cool assets from the Urban Promenades pack, which add even more modern touches to the cityscape. These assets help define the heart of Jubilife, with upscale housing and charming shops and restaurants on the ground floor, creating a vibrant and lively atmosphere. It is such a lovely addition to the game, and it really brings that modern city center vibe to life. You'll see how seamlessly these assets fit into the downtown area, adding a new layer of detail and sophistication to Jubilife. And here I wanted to create the feel of a central park framed by taller buildings on one side. And for now I've placed trees and raw grass to give it a sense of being a slightly developed area. However, later on this space will transform into a large elements park, where each section will represent one of the Pokemon types. I think it is going to be vibrant and colorful and quite unique feature of Jubilife City, and the perfect spot for people to stroll through and enjoy. And yeah, I'm really excited to start building it very soon. And here I'm experimenting with a department store, essentially a larger version of Mart, designed specifically for this downtown area. In the Pokemon games, you typically find a department store in one of the cities, though I think Jubilife doesn't really feature one. Anyways, I decided to include this as a Pokemart-like structure with multiple floors where people can shop for all their essential Pokemon needs, and later on I will also switch the asset. And of course I placed this large hospital building from the modern building spec to serve as a Poke Center. I think it looks fantastic and fits perfectly as a major healthcare facility for both humans and Pokemon in Jubilife City, and its modern design complements the urban setting while giving a city a functional and visually appealing landmark too. Now, for this vacant spot, I decided to transform it into a central plaza for the city. Since I've already placed a lot of modern assets around this area, I wanted the plaza to have a contemporary feel as well. So I did some research and found an inspiring plaza design by Mikyong Kim Design in Boston. Though I couldn't find it on the map, they have some good renders and I don't know if it was actually built. I liked the idea and decided to recreate a version of it. The key element I took from the design was this 45-degree shaped tiles that are forming zigzag pattern, and with the line tool, of course, it wasn't too difficult to recreate this and lay down surfaces with a clean modern look and also pepper it with green areas. I finished it off with some detailing to give this area a lively urban atmosphere, and to make space even more welcoming, I pre-placed the park, then deleted all its walkways and detailing, and allowed the game built-in asset to still attract visitors and basically to function. And the end result was quite sleek, contemporary plaza that blends seamlessly with the surrounding developments. Now, I'll leave you with some music so you can enjoy the detailing process and see how the plaza turned out. Take a moment to immerse yourself in the transformation of this space and get a feel of how it ties together the surrounding urban design. I hope you enjoy it. And once the plaza was more or less complete, I shifted the focus to detailing the surrounding areas. There was a suggestion in the comments to incorporate actual water between my tracks in the water line, which was a very nice suggestion, but unfortunately the mechanics of these water surfaces didn't work quite well, so instead I opted for blue markings at each tram stop. Not only this emphasizes the tram's line theme, but also serves as visual cue for passengers to recognize the type of tram they're about to board. It is a small but meaningful detail that adds personality and function to the city transportation network. And over here I placed this downtown hotel tower designed to represent one of these iconic global chain hotels like Marriott or Hilton that you'll find in almost every major city center around the world, and probably in the Pokemon world they would have something alike. While the design of the building might not be the most exciting or unique, it perfectly fits the role. These types of hotels are valued for their consistent quality, offering comfort, excellent soundproofing, and a reliable breakfast. And travelers often choose them because they know exactly what to expect in terms of the service, amenities, and price, making it a practical yet essential addition to the bustling heart of Jubilife. And then I dove into experimenting with the new buildings again, focusing on shaping this fancy downtown core. And this area leans more towards residential, with people living in some really nice apartment buildings that offer great views, convenient connectivity, and access to fantastic spots like bars, restaurants, and cafes. One thing that I love about these new assets is how they already feature detailed ground floor spaces like shops, eateries, and other lively elements, which means there's not as much additional detailing required to complete the look. And it is a great time saver while still delivering a polished and dynamic vibe to the city center. And now we move on to the project that fans of Pokemon games might see a bit differently. It's Jubilife TV. In the games, the Jubilife TV building is located right at the heart of the city. However, I decided to place it on one of Jubilife's hills instead, converting it into TV and media production powerhouse. This choice was made with practicality in mind. Placing the internet or TV tower on a hill helps spread the signal much farther, which makes much more sense in this context. Also, the new location offers a fantastic view over the downtown Jubilife, making it not just a functional area but also a potential attraction for different visitors. And I didn't want it to be just a standalone building with a tower, so I expanded the area into a full production hub. So I added these warehouses assets to mimic filming studios. So it's basically some nice space for TV production and anything else that can involve, shooting shows of different styles. And I would imagine TV stars and their Pokemon coming here regularly for their own shows and shoots. And to make it feel more connected to the city, I added a bus route linking it to downtown, ensuring people can travel here easily. In the end, I think this area turned out to be both functional and special, definitely one of the city's key landmarks, even though it is on its outskirts. Plus, the skyline impact of this tower works well for now, so maybe I'll swap the tower asset itself later on, for some Japanese-style conical tower if it becomes available in the future, but for now I'm really happy with how it is looking. And yeah guys, at last and finally we have Japanese styled assets in City Skylines 2. It is a really exciting addition to the game, and especially for the build like this where authenticity really matters. And yeah, once they were out, a lot of people commented that they were out, so I wanted to start placing them right away. And for this piece of the Kotobuki district, it took me about 2 hours of playing around with them once they were released, and I just was surprised how well fit they are. There are plenty of options in the pack and most of them look amazing, and these assets add so much to the city vibe and allow me to give Sinnoh that Japanese feel finally I've been aiming for. So while I'm still going to maintain the balance, as I mentioned before, between different styles, it is not going to be just Japanese for sure, but adding Japanese touches here and there actually makes a lot of difference. Again, I'm incredibly grateful to the creators Kamenoge and Koma and City Skylines 2 team who made this pack possible. It is such a game changer and it will make building Sinnoh feel even more immersive. Let me know what you think about the addition of these Japanese themed assets and how they're shaping the Jubilife city so far, in your opinion. While placing these assets, I took the time to experiment with different styles. I've never been to Japan myself, but I spent some time observing it through Google Street View and watching how other creators use assets in their builds. And my goal was to replicate that dense urban environment where buildings kind of command the space and they're very tightly positioned next to each other, even the smaller ones. So yeah, this kind of packed together style creating a vibrant yet atmospheric cityscape is something that I was aiming for in this district. And I think overall for me, density is key to capturing the feel of Japanese city. If we apply this approach across Jubilife, I believe it will really enhance, that urbanistic aesthetic that I envisioned when I was looking at Sapporo from above. And the layering of buildings and roads and tight-knit layouts creates a distinct character that stands out from the rest of Sinnoh, while still feeling cohesive and alive. And yeah, while placing these assets, I was trying to experiment with how smaller and slightly larger assets will complement each other. And it has been really satisfying to see how well they blend together, creating a dynamic and visually appealing urban landscape. And this mix of building sizes allows to create very authentic and diverse feel, making each block unique while still maintaining, the cohesive look. It also helps to break up the monotony of uniform housing and adds depth to the district. And I think, this balance is key to making Jubilife feel more alive and realistic while also supporting the growth of the city population as we expand further. And to wrap up this episode, I placed down a school that I converted into an iconic Pokemon training school from the games. My concept was to create a facility where aspiring trainers could hone their skills, compete with different trainers, and there will be several training fields dedicated to Pokemon battles. And I transformed a large field of this school into a multifunctional battle arena. allowing it to accommodate up to 4 separate battles simultaneously or one large-scale match. Of course, other sports activities can take place here as well, adding a sense of versatility to the space. I also enjoyed the idea of having the swimming pool nearby. Actually, it is there by default in the asset. And I think it actually easily doubles as a practical training area for water-type Pokemon trainers, which I think is insanely cool. I would love to hear your thoughts about how this area and training school feels to you, and whether you would do anything differently, and in general, how do you feel about these new Japanese assets. Once I will finish up this video, my focus will shift on filling out the entire southern part of Jubilife City with these amazing Japanese assets. I think they will quite transform the city, and yeah, it will be much more cohesive and vibrant urban space. And on this note, I want to thank each and every one of you who made it up until the end of this video. I truly hope you enjoyed it, although it was a bit lengthy. And if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel to grow. And if you would like to stay updated and catch the next episode as soon as it drops, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, I have prepared you a couple of cinematics which will showcase everything that has been built in this episode. And I'm wishing you guys a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.